there is a biological difference between men and women. And it's amazing to me that that has become a controversial statement, but it seems to have done that. And one of my top priorities as a US Senator, as a woman, as a mom and a grandmom, is to make certain that we protect opportunities for women and girls, and that we open those doors of opportunity, that we break those barriers. And my next guest is making some waves as she tries to open those doors and break those barriers. Taylor Silverman, welcome to Unmuted with Marsha.
Hi, Marsha. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
I'm delighted to have you join our audience with Unmuted. And you've gone up against transgender athletes in skateboarding competitions 3 different times, placing second twice. So how does it make you feel to know that you are second to a transgender athlete, someone who is not a biological female? And when you know, had they not been there, you would have been the one placing first.
It feels incredibly unfair, but the way that I saw it was that I did place first. I just wasn't allowed to say so or get paid correctly, which when people asked me at home how the contest went, because there are a lot of people who knew I was going, Red Bull put me on the news to promote this and talk about how women were going to be paid equally to men. And it was embarrassing after I found out what really happened. But everyone at home treated me like I got first. Every time I explained the situation, because I would just tell them honestly what happened, everyone acted like I did win. And I realized that this was the common opinion amongst most of the skate community, at least that I knew. And the worst feeling was not speaking up, because I felt like I wasn't living within my values of standing up for myself and standing up for what was right. So aside from just the massive injustice of being put in this situation in the first place, I felt very upset with myself because I felt guilty for not saying anything. And it wasn't until I spoke up and started sharing it with people in my community that it really alleviated that. But yeah, I feel like I should have been able to just go home and celebrate the win and not have to explain a really just ridiculous situation to everybody, or to certain people. I didn't even want to get into it. And I had to say I got second when I knew that I had actually placed first.
Yeah, you were first female,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and I worked really hard. I'm not the world's best skateboarder, but I traveled across the country for this. I had to compete in qualifiers to even get there in the first place. And I left my family during Hanukkah even to go to this, which I kind of, it was a slap in the face to go there and experience that when I was trying to do something to make my hometown proud. There's not a lot of people from where I'm from who travel around and do stuff like this. So I felt like I should have been able to celebrate that with my community rather than explain the situation and not be able to be happy for myself and what I had accomplished.
Yeah, Taylor, let me ask you this. Lia Thomas was nominated to be the NCAA Woman of the Year. What kind of impact does that have on you and your fellow athletes? And what message does that send to future generations? I know that's important to you, looking at future generations.
Yeah, I think that when Lia Thomas was nominated for the Woman of the Year award, it was a massive slap in the face to all female college athletes, because that's an award that's a huge honor to be nominated for in the first place, and including a male, which takes away the opportunity of the woman from that school to even be nominated. It makes a mockery of something that should be taken seriously. And I think it sends the message that women just don't matter enough to have our own space protected. And no matter how many of us speak up, they still seem to ignore us. And I just want to know how many more women have to suffer before they listen, because the whole world is upset about this.
Mhm.
Like, they have outraged so many people, so many parents who are terrified of what this is going to mean for their daughters. And I'm really scared for the next generation of girls. And I feel very lucky that when I played school sports, because before I ever skateboarded, I was an athlete playing other sports in school. I feel very lucky that this was not something I ever had to be concerned about, because I'm 27 years old. This wasn't happening when I was in middle school, high school. So I can't imagine the mental health consequences and the detrimental effects this is going to have on young girls who feel like they shouldn't even show up to tryouts, or they shouldn't even run the race because it's not worth it and it's just going to be an embarrassment and a mockery.
Yeah. Let
Or
me ask you this. How have you bonded together with other female athletes during this time? And how are you all working together on this issue?
So I've been very fortunate that my story got as much coverage as it did, because it's connected me with so many amazing athletes. And I've received support from a lot of skateboarders and parents, but also I have been able to work with athletes in all different sports with groups like Icons and the Independent Women's Forum. I spoke at the Our Bodies, Our Sports rally in DC with several other athletes who've been impacted in high school, college, and in situations like mine where it's like independent, but we're getting paid to do this, because skateboarding is really a school associated sport. But we have been working to raise awareness first and foremost, because people need to understand what a common issue this has become and how many girls are being impacted, and just how severe it's going to continue to progress to be if we don't stop it now. But also, we want people to know that the Biden administration is proposing changes to Title IX to include gender identity, which will take away protections from females, including in athletics. So we all need to oppose this. And I hope that by seeing these real life stories, it can help people understand how important it is to protect women's places and a fair place to compete in sports. But my main goal, I think, is to just tell my story, because it's so important that people hear these stories, because otherwise it's just something they heard about once, they don't think is a big deal. But when they know that there's, several different male athletes in skateboarding who are doing this, and that in my experience, more of the contests I've gone to lately have males than they just have females. And I really think that this is the end of the women's division. We no longer have a women's division. We have a males division and a co-ed division. So I want people to understand how bad it is, and I want people to be upset. I want people to want to speak up and do something, because our voices matter here. And if we don't speak for ourselves, some woke gender ideologists will speak for you. If you don't speak for yourself, they will step in and be your voice. So
Well,
speak up.
that's exactly right. And I think we all want to see women's sports be for women. And that's an important point to make. You are so right on that. And you have been so brave and so courageous. And I know that our unmuted audience is going to want to follow you. You're on Twitter at TM Silverman. And I hope that they will keep up with you. And Taylor, I am thrilled to have you join us today for Unmuted. And to our audience, you're always going to find me at Marsha Blackburn.
Thank
Thanks
you
for joining us. Thank you.